Hello, I am Myra. I've lived on Saturn my whole life. I originated from the first ever robots made from human. They were called the KTI 900 or the Kits. An evil woman named Hillary Clinton came back for revenge after Donald Trump made president in 2017, whatever that is. She turned every human on Earth into a robot, and now here I am, 1,984 years later, in the year 4001. Hillary is no longer alive because she was dumb and didn't make herself a robot so that she could live forever, just like the rest of us. I never did get to meet her, and I don't care. All I want is to be human again. I was very young when I was turned into a robot, and I don't remember much except that it was much better than living forever as a robot. Now Hillary's grandson, Bergam Loins, is my master. He's a robot also because he learned from his grandmother's mistakes. The reason we lived on Saturn is that there's some sort of chemical in the air that helps us live better with no complications. So yeah, I have a pretty terrible life. Right now I'm in my Yulu rocket on my way to Earth. We were assigned to find an object from our past in the house that we used to live in on Earth. Bergam said that it would help our mechanical bodies remember our past and how terrible it was because he was sick and tired of us always talking about how much we missed being humans. So I finally got to my house and a memory struck me. I was already getting flashbacks and I hadn't even found my object yet. The memory was of me swinging on this weird swingy thing outside my house. I had a big cloth thing in my hand. That was it. That was my object. It was a colorful clothy thing with hundreds of even strings hanging off the end. My old house was not the same as in my memory, though. It was broken down and decaying. I began to look under the piles of whatever made a house a house. I lifted up long stick things. Finally, I found it, this soft, colorful, and beautiful piece of cloth. I brought it back to the Yulu rocket. Pretty soon, I was back on Saturn, ready to get my memories back. A couple hours later, I had parked the rocket and was ready for whatever Bergam had planned to help us get our memories back. Almost everyone was back by now. We all gathered around for some sort of ceremony. One by one, we each shared our item and gave some ideas of what it might be, and others could share their opinions too. Finally, it was my turn. I brought up my clothy thing and told everyone what it could be. Bergam said that it was pretty large and flat. I told him that my observation was that it could be some sort of flattened monster. Some other guy said that it could have been used as a trapping device, and someone even said that it could be a device for making food. At last, Bergam stopped our arguing and started the ceremony. He put some sort of chip into this weird device and told us to close our eyes. All of a sudden, I was in a grassy field. I was looking at a miniature me laying on the object. Miniature me looked up at a woman and said, "Mommy, look, I'm laying on my blankie." The woman, who seemed to be my mommy, said, "Yes, sweetie, do you like your new blanket?" "Yeah," my little self said. Suddenly I realized that this was a memory of me before I was a robot. The object was a blanket, apparently used for keeping someone warm. Robots don't need blankets because they never get cold. I awoke from the memory suddenly. I shouted so that all of the robots could hear me, but I was mostly speaking to Bergam. I shouted, "Being a human was never bad. It was much better than living forever as a robot in this boring life where we serve you. I will never forgive you for putting me through this horrible life when I could have been living a perfect life as a human." Everyone shouted, "Yeah!" I ran back to my rocket and flew back to Earth, where I would live forever until the end, happily.